perpendicular vectors. We say the vectors A and B are perpendicular if the angle between them is 90 degrees. Now recall that the scalar product of vectors A and B is equal to the length of the vector A times the length of the vector B times cosine alpha, where alpha is the angle between the vectors A and B. Now notice that, if the angle between the vectors is 90 degrees, then cosine 90 degrees is equal to 0, and so the scalar product of the vectors A and B is 0. And, in fact, alpha is equal to 90 degrees is the only way this scalar product can go to 0, because we assume the vector A and the vector B are non-zero, and so the length of the vector A and the vector B cannot be 0. So, to conclude, saying two non-zero vectors are perpendicular is equivalent to saying their scalar product is 0. Let us now apply this property of vectors. Suppose we have the vector A equal to t squared minus t1, and the vector B equal to 1, 2, 1, are perpendicular to each other. We need to find the value of t. The vectors A and B are perpendicular is equivalent to saying their scalar product is equal to 0. So, let us find the value of t for which the scalar product of the vectors is equal to 0. The scalar product of A and B is equal to t squared minus 2t plus 1. So we need to find t, so that this is equal to 0. Now notice that this expression is simply t minus 1 squared, so t is equal to 1, which is the value of t for which the vectors A and B are perpendicular.